Hello guys, and welcome to this part of my channel. In this mini-series I'll be building and painting my first ever scale model, and I'll be starting with the Bandai 1/72 scale Y-Wing Starfighter. So, good or bad, I thought I'd share this experience with you, and I hope you enjoy. Well, first of all, an apology. So as I'm new to this kind of recording, video recording, I'm having great difficulty getting my camera to focus in on any of the action, and most of the action shots I did take came out really blurry, so unfortunately I didn't include them in this video. So this is more of a this is what I did sort of video. I'm sure I'll figure it out in part 2, maybe. To recap then, the model itself is beautifully made. It's got lots of detail on it. I absolutely love it. It's exceeded my expectations there. But what YouTube doesn't push over is the scale of the model. So I know it's a 1/72 scale, but until it's in your hand, you can't actually get a feel for it. And I have to say that some of the parts on this model are so small. And unfortunately, because I'm getting old now, my eyesight's are not the best at all. So I'm making good use of the magnifying glass, which does get in the way quite a lot. That's the only way I can really get to grips with the detail on this thing. I have to say that I'm really enjoying putting this model together and painting it. And as you probably know now, it's something I've never done before. I've never painted anything like this ever. So it was really great to sort of practice on this model and use my air gun for the first time, mix my own paints, all that kind of stuff. However, as expected, I have come across a few problems, and they're all knowledge based. So because I've never done this before, the only reason I'm making these mistakes is down to experience, or lack of it, I should say. Issue 1 then is the spray cans. So the spray cans that you get for the clear gloss and the AS20 body colour, it comes out so fast. I found it very difficult to control the speed of which it comes out. So when I was doing the top coat, I ended up with, yes, it went on the model fine, but I also ended up with a nice big sheet of cardboard that was perfectly covered in AS20 top coat. I suppose it would be better to hold the parts further away from the can, but because I was doing this outside, the wind was taking most of the paint away, so I had to do it a little bit closer. The biggest problem I had with it was with the gloss. It seemed to pull up in places, and I think you can see it on the video, you know, where the gloss is sort of pulled up in some of the detail. The second issue I had, which was again my own stupid fault, I've been watching a lot of videos on how to mix acrylic paints, and the ratio that was a good rule of thumb was 2 to 1, so 2 parts paint, 1 part thinner. But unfortunately, I don't know whether it was late at night, I can't remember, but I mixed 2 parts thinner, 1 part paint for the yellow. So I got a lovely yellow colour that I mixed, and I couldn't understand why it wouldn't go on the model, you know, properly. It looked really weird when I was putting it on there. It wasn't very yellow at all, and of course I got the mixture the wrong way round, so it was more thinner than paint, and it did look a bit beat up when it dried up. Unfortunately, I'd gone quite far on, you know, with the chipping and all that kind of stuff, and I didn't want to break any parts. So these parts are really thin. So I thought I'd leave it and take it as a learning curve, that one. I also put the liquid mask on too thick, so I used a toothpick to put the liquid mask dots on. But the toothpick isn't really thin enough, so I should have used maybe a needle or something like that and made the you know, the mask a lot smaller, so smaller chipping effects instead of larger. So this ship does look beat up. He's been through some wars, this ship has. I still really enjoyed doing it though, and I do actually really like the effect. Another issue I had was with the pin wash, so trying to, you know, get the black wash in the little panel lines, which brings out the detail. I haven't got a small enough paintbrush really to do it with, so I did the best I could, and it came out okay, but obviously it would have been a lot better if I'd got the mix a bit better and also used a smaller brush. Having practically given up on the gloss clear coat out the can, which was driving me a bit mad to be honest, I took YouTube's advice, you know, from the pros, and I got some Pledge floor gloss. So even though you guys were telling me it's fine and that's the stuff that you should be using, I was a little bit skeptical. So I got a couple of bottles off Amazon. It took a while to come, but I did, you know, pop it in my air gun, and the next time I did a clear gloss, I used that, and lo and behold, you guys were absolutely right, and it came out fantastic. So I'll be using the Pledge, I think it's called Pledge Revive floor gloss from this day forward. I won't be using the clear gloss in the spray can. Now, as you can probably see, I did have some trouble getting the paint into those, you know, the yellow, the whites, the reds and the blacks into those little nooks and crannies. But that's down to my eyesight and my skill level. So I've just done the best I could there, and even though it looks a bit rough, I'm so pleased with it. I've got such a sense of achievement from doing that, even though it looks scrappy. I think it's fantastic for me, that is, and I can't wait to get onto my next model and, you know, hopefully do a much finer job of it. I found the little figure there the hardest part to paint, and I did try and do his chest plate, you know, follow the pictures, but unfortunately I just couldn't see good enough to put the tiny little details in there. So I did a bit of a custom job on his chest plate, and it didn't come out too bad. It looks okay. I got the stickers on his helmet as well. They were an absolute nightmare, but I managed to get them on in the end. They took me forever. And I enjoyed doing a little bit of the weathering on the figure and the whole of this nose cone, really. I've really enjoyed doing it. So here's the cockpit then, all together, all snapped together nicely, and despite all the issues I had, I have to say I'm pleased with it. I think it looks great. I love it. I must try and figure out these camera angles. I know, because the camera's sort of, you know, from the top down, I never know whether it should be upside down, the image, or the other way round, or I've got no idea, but I'm trying the best I can, guys. Here then, I've put it all together, and I've done a little bit more weathering on the body. So I used my air gun to do some little fine, you know, smoky effects there on where the torpedoes come out the bottom, and, you know, coloured in where the chips are a little bit more, and on the back as well. I went through there with the air gun in certain places, and I think it's come out quite well. I then tried my hand at a little Weathermaster, so I put some powdery stuff in there, you know, the rust colour, that sort of thing, and I also put a little bit of black, more black in there as well on some of the panels. One thing I have noticed though is there is some crack in there on the front of the nose cone, if you notice. I don't know whether that's the floor gloss or something else, but it's only happened since I put the floor gloss on there, so I'm thinking it might be that. So it's either cracked on its own, or I've just put, you know, been pressing too hard on the front for some reason, or one of the kids has picked it up. But to be honest, it looks quite good, so I'm not going to do anything with that. Not that I can. It just makes it look a little bit more beat up, which was my whole point of painting it like this, really. So it adds to the effect. I've also gone around the nose cone with the Tamiya Weathermaster as well, and made some of the chips a little bit darker and a little bit muddier in places. And of course you can see the full effect of putting too much thinner in the yellow paint here. It looks very, very sort of bubbly and faded. So popping the cockpit interior inside the nose cone there and the canopy on top, for me it was like, wow, it looked absolutely awesome. And even though you're not going to see 90% of the hard work I did on the inside there, unless, you know, you open the canopy up, it's absolutely brilliant. These models are spectacular. I'm so glad that Bandai have decided to bring these models out. I just hope I get on okay with the body and the engines and all that kind of stuff, because they look really intricate. So that's the nose cone and cockpit with a flat clear on it, and putting that flat clear on it just makes it look absolutely awesome in my eyes. Well, I'm going to bring an end to this episode, guys. I've enjoyed doing this. I hope you've enjoyed watching it, and I look forward to showing you the next part. Okay, see you soon. Bye-bye.